All right, this is the last video in the Typescript with React week that I've had this week. And this is the 7th video, and I'm going to show you a neat little trick on how to create generic components. So I'm going to move back inside of the code editor, and I'm going to start off by creating a new component. Inside our components folder, I create a new file that I call item.tsx. And I'm going to start by importing React, import React from React. And then I'm not going to create a special style file for this one. So I'm going to import styled from style components because it's just a one-liner. So I create a wrapper equals style.div and text align center, just to get some styling on this one. I'm going to create a component that will display all the properties and its values from the item. And in this case, it's a character. So I'm going to start off by creating some types for the props. Type props equal. We're going to have the item. And how do we set the type on this? Because this is about generics. And with generics, we can specify the type ourselves and send it into the component in this case. So we have these angle brackets, and it's going to be of the item type. So we set the item to the item type like this. And also we're going to have an on-click handler that is going to call a function that will get the item. That's also going to be of the item type. And it's going to return nothing. So we set it to void. So these are the props. And these props are generic because we can specify the type like this when we use the props. And I'm also going to use a regular function and not an arrow function in this case because it's easier to create this kind of generic components with a regular function. So I create a function item, and then we're going to have the generic, and it's going to be the item type, parentheses. We have the props, we have our item, and our on-click handler. And now we can type these props, and we have created our type up here that's called props. And we pass along the item type. So this is how you specify a generic component. We can give this component a type when we use it, and we pass it along to the props, and then the props will know about this type. And you will see how it works in a little bit. We have a return statement because this is not an arrow function, so we can't make an implicit return. We have the wrapper. And then from the keys in the item that I send in, I'm going to loop through these keys and display the key itself and the value. So I can do that with object.keys from the item .map, and we have a property. And in this case, I'm actually going to cheat a little bit because I'm going to use the index as a key, and you shouldn't ever do that in React. But in our case, we know that it won't change and we won't do anything with it now, so it's okay to use the index as a key. But don't use it in a production app if you do some advanced stuff. It's not recommended. It can cause some strange behavior. And then I have a p tag. I set the key to the I, as I just talked about. And inside the p tag, I'm going to display the property like this. And then I have a dash. And then I want to show the value. So from the item, I grab that property. And I misspelled this one, property, like this. And in some cases, this will actually complain because it doesn't know that this property actually exists on this item. So we can cast this one as key of the item type, and then it will know that this property should exist on this item because item is of item type, and we're using a property from that type. Right? Then we should have one more parenthesis, like so. And then I'm going to create a button. I have my on-click handler on this one. And I'm going to call the on-click prop and pass along the item. And it's going to say, click me. Like this. And then I just need to export default item like this. And this is our generic component. And I'm going to use it now so you can see the benefits of this one. Because the cool thing with this component is that when we assign the on-click handler, when we send in the on-click prop to this component, it will automatically know what type this item is. So I go back to my app. I'm going to import item from components, item, something like that. And then I use it down here, and it will look like crap probably, but this course isn't about, or this video isn't about styling in any way. So I'm just going to place it here. We have the item. I'm going to give it the item, and that's going to be a character that we grab from the API. And then we have the onClick handler. So we have the item that we passed in from the component. And then I'm just going to console log out something from that item. And now you're going to see the cool stuff about this generic component. If I type in item dot, you can see that I get this auto completion here, this IntelliSense telling me all of the properties that exist on the item. So I can use it here. And that's pretty cool. And it's very handy, at least when you have a large application. So let's say that I want to console log out the origin like this. And then I'm going to self-close the item, save it, and I go back to my application. And you can see that we have our properties and we have the values for the properties here. So that works. And if I click me, it displays the origin here. And in this case, it's Earth. So let's change this one to another character. We get something else here and click it. And origin is unknown. So that's actually pretty cool. And you can see that I don't even have to send in the type here, because Typescript is smart enough to know that the first prop is going to be the type, as we have one type for this particular component. We only have one here. So it will interpret the first prop to the item type, and that's pretty cool also. But if you want, you can be more explicit and set it here. And the type, maybe type of character. Should be like this, not a capital C. And then it complains because it wants me to do something with the formatting. So here I send in the type of the character, and this should work exactly the same. As you can see here, we can grab something else, the hair. But we don't have to do this if we don't want to be that explicit, but you can set the type explicitly like this in these angled brackets if you want to do that. All right, so that's essential generic components in React, and this concludes the React TypeScript week. I hope you learned something, and as always, I hope also seeing you in another video. And if you like this stuff, please subscribe and hit that notification button and spread the word about this channel, because I want it to grow, of course. And yeah, see you in another one.